Okay, so welcome to the session, Get Found Online, SEO Fundamentals for Founders. The purpose of this webinar is to help founders navigate SEO in an AI-driven landscape so you can walk away with a clear action plan to strengthen your online presence and start showing up where your customers are searching. Are you ready to make your business easier to find online, but you're not sure where to start? Search engine optimization, otherwise known as SEO, doesn't have to be overwhelming. So in this practical, beginner-friendly session, I'll teach you the essential building blocks of SEO to help your ideal customers discover your business through Google and other search engines. So whether you run a product-based business or offer services, these fundamentals will give you the clarity and confidence to take action right away. So in this 60-minute session, we will be covering how SEO works, how does AI SEO and now AI search, how do they work, the SEO fundamentals that still matter, what AI-ready SEO looks like, and I'll give you some resources, actually, as well as a client case study I will share with you and next steps as well. So before I begin, I just want to introduce myself. My name is Glynis, and I'm the founder of Chase Your Dreams Consulting, which is an apparel business consulting and online marketing agency that specializes in SEO for e-commerce companies. I help fashion, beauty, and lifestyle e-commerce brands create optimized content and attract their potential customers through organic search results. And I'm also the host of Chase Your Dreams podcast, which is a podcast for fashion entrepreneurs who are ready to pursue their passion and make a living doing what they love. And I have a free download. So if you want to scan the QR code in the right corner, you can also download the complimentary checklist that goes with this webinar. You don't need to be an SEO expert to know that search has evolved. Did you know that 90% of an online journey starts with a search? And now with AI layered in, it's changing just where and how results appear. So you can't just rely on social channels or just your website. Everything needs to be visible. Your website, you need to be visible in both search and AI platforms. So the shift has been from traditional SEO, which used to be the 10 blue links that we all were used to when we did a Google search, to now AI-driven answers, which includes Google AI overviews, ChatGPT, Perplexity, Bing, Copilot, and all sorts. And so that also means that how consumers are searching, their searching behavior has also changed. And, this results in fewer clicks because they're getting more direct answers through these different search engines. And also on September 29th, ChatGPT introduced instant checkout and the agentic commerce protocol. Instant checkout is basically a new feature in ChatGPT that lets users buy certain products within the chat interface without being redirected to an external website. And they're going to be rolling this out right now. I believe it's just only in the US, but eventually it'll be throughout other countries as well. So yeah, stay tuned for that, but that's happening as well. And so right now, I just want to take a little step back and just talk about the way that Google and AI tools discover your brand. And I just want to get back to basics here, okay? Because it's hard to jump to advanced SEO techniques before knowing what the basic fundamentals are. And so overall, how Google and AI tools discover you, Google crawls and indexes the web, right? And so how Google and the rest of AI search engines work is that they do pretty much the same thing. They crawl and index what's on the internet, and then they then take that information and interpret it into results. And then thus, if they discover your brand, then they will recommend it. And I will tell you in this webinar exactly how to make your brand become the recommended brand on search engines. So according to Google Help, Google and AI systems discover and recommend content by combining, crawling, and indexing the web with large language models or LLMs to understand, summarize, and predict user needs. Instead of just matching keywords, AI now interprets context, intent, and user behavior to provide personalized recommendations via tools like AI overviews, AI mode, and the discovery feed. And I also like to talk about, in the context of SEO, just how does Google work? Google's job is to deliver relevant search results as part of its way to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. So Google has automated software called search bots or spiders, and these bots visit the web pages and they crawl the web. Then they add these pages that they crawl into Google's index, which is a huge catalog of trillions of web pages. So when people search, Google shows the most relevant results from that catalog. When you're doing SEO, you're helping Google spiders to crawl and understand your content, and you're also telling Google that your content is relevant to certain queries so that your web pages show up in the right search results. Okay. And so, I have this little diagram of triangle that shows what SEO is made up. So SEO is made up of three things. There's technical SEO, on-page SEO, and off-page SEO. These are the three elements that makes up SEO. And so technical refers to the process of optimizing your website for the crawling and indexing phase. So with technical SEO, you can help search engines crawl, access, interpret, and index your website without any problems. On-page SEO is the practice of optimizing individual web pages in order to rank higher and earn more relevant traffic in search engines. On-page SEO refers to both the content and HTML source code on a page that can be optimized, as opposed to off-page SEO, which refers to links and other external signals. Hence, the third thing, which is off-page SEO, is part of what is called authority building. So this refers to actions that are taken outside of your website to impact your rankings within search engine results pages. That means optimizing for off-site ranking factors involves improving search engine and user perception of a site's popularity, relevance, trustworthiness, and authority. And so I'm sure many of you, if you're in marketing or businesses, you're familiar with the funnel, right? The marketing, a customer purchase funnel. And so when I start working on SEO on a client site, I always try to understand, well, who the ideal customer is and their search intent and what is it that they are looking for, because it's really important to match your content to what people want. Okay. And so this is a signal. All right. If you think about it this way, because if, say, a customer lands on your website, but the content on the page doesn't match what they're looking for, they're going to leave, right? And so that's hence a signal to search engines that, the content doesn't match what the customer is looking for. Hence, it doesn't match. So they're going to, like, your rankings are going to drop because they're like, more and more people are leaving the site. So that's why you got to understand the different types of search queries and then the content that needs to go with it. And so for every page, there's a purpose, right? If you have an e-commerce website, if they're products or you have services, then you want to make sure that those pages have commercial and transactional intent behind them. And whereas if you have a blog website, then you want to make sure that those pages have informational intent, okay? They have to match those specific queries. And so if you're thinking about your customer's purchasing journey, right, as a funnel, here starts with top of funnel, which is awareness. They have never heard of your brand, right? So they're discovering you through whatever various channels, whether it's through search, right, or paid ads. They're discovering your site for the first time. And so they land on your site. Now they see what your site looks like. And then the next stage is consideration. They're deciding you've got a few seconds to capture their attention, right? And decide whether or not your site has what they're looking for. Otherwise, they're going to leave. So you need to be able to catch their attention and keep them on your website for as long as possible. Okay. And then once they're on your site and they're like, this is interesting, and hopefully they spend more time and they scroll through the site, they click and do, and maybe this might not happen the first time, right? Just right at the awareness stage, unless, you match with a specific search query that they're looking for. Like if they're looking for something specific and then they discover your site, then they perhaps have a higher rate of purchasing. And so, the last part would be conversion. And then you have obviously loyalty, repeat is also important after they make the first purchase. And then them becoming your loyal advocate, fans, raving fans, and telling everyone about your brand as well. And so, your customer could be any part of this funnel, right? They could have just discovered you for the first time, but were not ready to buy. And then the next time they may be thinking of they're looking for this particular item, a product that you offer, then they'll remember your site, or hopefully if they have bookmarked your site, or they may return back to your site and they're now maybe closer to making a purchase, right? So that's why you got to think of your content in terms of being able to nurture like all these different levels of the funnel within the site itself, right? Like I like to say that your site is like your sales machine, right? So you got to make sure that everything on there serves a purpose. Okay. And how do you do that, right? Well, you got to think like your customer. It starts with clients like asking. It's like for me, talking to your customer, understanding about what their challenges and pain points are. What are the questions that they'll be asking? What are they searching for? What are they typing into Google? A way to do that, a simple way, is just using Google itself. So you don't even need any fancy keyword research tool. You can just go into Google and start typing in, for example, here, can you wear linen? We started typing that in the search, and you can see that Google has all these, it's kind of auto fills, kind of common tip, like popular search questions that they get, and they start to guess based on what you're typing in. So can you wear linen in winter? And can you wear linen in the fall? And all these. So that kind of could tell you what common things people are searching for. And because there's like people also ask, right? So that can kind of give you an idea, and to just how to focus your content based on what people are searching for. Okay. So besides just basic keywords, we're looking beyond like that now with like long tail keywords of 3 to 5 words, because these answer engines are more like in the past, like one keyword. Oh, it's the way these people search is not the same anymore, right? So they're asking like more conversational type questions. And that's why, long tail keywords are just as important now as like, short one word keywords. So, okay. So here's a little tip that I can offer you to get started, right? Because you're trying to think about, okay, content. What kind of content should I have on my site? Because thinking about this top of funnel awareness levels, say someone who's never heard of you, but most likely they're searching for something, an answer or challenge or specific problem that they're having, right? So they turn to search and they're asking them questions. So one thing you could do is to choose 3 customer problems. So common FAQs that you get a lot, common questions, frequently asked questions that you get asked all the time. Make a list of these questions. Okay. And then you can turn these questions into your keywords. That makes sense. This could be your starting point. If you haven't done any keyword research in the past and you're wondering like where to even start with knowing what common questions your customers are asking. Okay. Make a list of that. So this becomes your content roadmap. Okay. As a starting point. And then I'm just going to talk about a little bit about SEO and on-page optimization. I have an example here that shows you where title tags and meta descriptions should be placed in the proper structure and formatting. And these are still really important. So speaking of SEO fundamentals that still matter, your website structure now has to, it has to be very clear for search engines to crawl and index them. So your site structure is very important. It has to be very clean. Everything has to be organized. And if you have a Shopify website, then they're organized in like product skins, is blogs. Like it's pretty simple. Everything is like categorized. So every page should have a title tag, which is under 60 characters long, and it should contain your keyword plus a benefit. The meta description is under 155 characters long, and it should, talk about the value you offer and have a CTA written in it. So you'll see here in this top screenshot where the title tag is that blue clickable link you see in Google, right? So in this case, it's women's golf clothes. That's the title tag. You enter that in the SEO part, like if you're working in Shopify, there's like a search engine optimization part that's at the bottom of your page. And that's where you would enter your title tag and your meta description. The meta description is like the 2 sentences that are right below the title tag. And that shows up in search. Okay. That's what search engines read. Okay. When they're deciding whether or not to rank your site. Another thing you should think about is your H1 headers, H2, and subheadings, right? And so in this case, this is on a collection page. We implemented women's golf apparel, which is an H1 tag. And this obviously contains a focus keyword, right? We want to rank for women's golf apparel for this page. Plus, there's a little subheading, which is like a one-liner sentence. So that's also important. And then the other last thing that we do is that we add block text at the bottom of the page that also contains internal links to other pages on the website. So these are like your basic things that are essential for optimizing your website for search engines. Okay. You need to make sure you at least do these basic things, because this way, if you don't do it, you leave it alone, like maybe search engines will rank it, but they may not rank it for necessarily what you want it to rank for. So this is a way you're telling search engines what your website is about, right? And this way you're helping it to help you rank higher in the search results pages. Okay. And so if anything, just start with this basic thing, optimize for the most important pages on your website. The next thing I want to talk about is creating helpful content, which helpful content now equals authority. And, building authority, like I said, in the triangle diagram, authority is really important. Nowadays, it's a signal for search engines. And when you're writing content, you want to make sure that you're writing for humans first and search second, because a lot of times people make the mistake of just writing for search engines strictly, and it just doesn't sound natural, right? So you got to make sure. I always tell people, just write it naturally, like write it for a human audience, right? And then go and optimize it for search engines later. And so some examples of content that you could create are FAQs. FAQs now have become really important, especially for AI search engines, because they're written in the form of question answer. And so in the way you're kind of like helping the search engines to kind of like pull that, the question will directly from your FAQs and the answer that goes with it. And so that way it's like, if someone types in search exactly that question that's on your page, that will pull up your website page into the results. Okay, so that's one reason why FAQs are really important. Having a checklist on your site or how-to guides are also really helpful. So helpful content, right? Think about what content will be helpful. You're not going to be creating content for the sake of content. Every piece of content that you create has to serve a purpose, okay? And that purpose is to build authority. This is the know, like, and trust factor, right? That you need to build with your audience, to have your audience trust you. Now it's like, okay, they discovered you for awareness. Now they're on your website. They're in the consideration phase. who is this brand? I don't know. Do I trust them? The quality, like all these things, like they're coming into the consideration level, right? So you got to have content that matches that now to establish your expertise, experience, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness, which is what is described as a EAT, EEAT, the acronym. That's what it stands for. So keep that in mind. And I'm going to go back to that a little bit later. Yeah, because like AI engines like Gemini pull trustworthy, clearly authored information. Okay, so I have some examples of blogs and testimonials also is really helpful. These two examples are client examples of topic clusters that we had created specifically for this brand who's a linen clothing company. And we structured their blog topics around a cluster and, everything related to linen clothing, like from, can you wear linen clothing in the winter? Because we discovered, well, that's got high search intent, right? Like you saw in Google, that was a big question. And so we had created a blog uh, called Can You Wear Linen in Winter? And that blog is ranks like number one on search for that that question, as well as it also ranks for over 1,000 keywords variations for that keyword. Can you wear linen in the winter? And it also shows up in Google's AI overviews as well. So both in Google search and Google AI overviews. So that's like what I'd say is the power of blogging. Danny said, I never thought of that. Super helpful. Yeah, awesome, right? So, this by blogging, you're doing many things. And this is the reason why I always encourage people to blog. Even if you have a product site, blogging helps with discovery and authority building, both with your customers and with search engines. Okay. And we've proven it with this client case study for Can You Wear Linen in Winter in the linen clothing in winter. Okay. And so if you're able to show up in traditional search like top 10, like where they show up in number one result and they show up in AI overviews, like AI overviews actually trumps the organic results too. So there you have like two places where your website is showing. Okay. And then we also applied the strategy for a woman's contemporary fashion clothing brand as well. And it's works. I can tell you that. Okay. And so here, I'm just going to talk about how to show up in AI search, excuse me, because the way you structure your site is really important, as I mentioned before. And just a few tips how to do that. You want to use clear, fact-based answers that AI can quote. So, oh yeah, so here I have like a screenshot side by side. Google AI overviews and ChatGPT citations. For that particular article that said, can I wear linen clothing in the winter? So you see Google AI overviews cites it in the results. There it is. It's like also cited and linked as the number one website link there in AI overviews, links to that article. And then also in ChatGPT, can I wear linen clothing in the winter? And then it also, yeah, it's cited there, links to the blog as well. Yeah, so this ties back to the previous slide I was talking about, that we start with building topic clusters. So we do the research first based on common questions that your ideal customer would be asking. So we're just addressing common challenges and pain points from customers. And like, there's also this misconception, like about linen clothing, that people don't think that you can wear linen clothing in the winter. They think that it's more of a summer fabric. And so this is why I had to ask my client this. I was like, what are the common questions that you get asked a lot, right? Like I said before, I was like, list the, make a list of common FAQs you get. And she told me, oh, yeah, people don't think they can wear linen clothing in the winter. They think it's a summer fabric. And then she goes, that's actually false because linen, oh, it's a natural fiber, but it also has insulating properties. And if you layer them, it actually can keep you very warm. And so I was like, hey, this is like an awesome idea for a blog topic. You should write about this exact idea. Can I wear linen clothing in the winter? And so that's how she wrote this blog exactly like that. And that's why now, like I was saying, that this blog ranks for over 1,000 keywords and is in the #1 results on the Google search page, as well as it shows up in Google AI overviews, and it shows up in ChatGPT. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. And so you also want to make sure you have structured data and use schema markup if possible on your website. And so this is a universal language that search engines use in order to index and crawl your site. So you want to make it as easy as possible for search engines to find you. And you want to update your content regularly because freshness is a credibility signal, right? And you don't have to be writing or I mean like adding new content all the time. Just a simple update also produces really good results, but as long as you're like updating, keeping the information fresh. And also you want to link to reputable sources and have a feature, an author bio as well in your article. At the bottom, you should have an author bio of who the author of this article was and what they do. That's also an authority and trust signal. Okay. And now I'm just going to talk about some, technical things. May not be as glamorous, but they are important to know. And so one thing is if you have a local business that you also want to make sure that you claim your Google business profile and make sure that is set up, and so that you can include your photos, product photos, customers can leave reviews, and make sure your name, address, and phone number are everywhere so that customers can find you. You can link to your website, which is another great thing. So yeah, definitely, if you haven't already, set up your Google business profile. And other thing is like you want to optimize your website images for fast loading time because page load speed is really important, and making sure that your website is also mobile friendly. And like I mentioned before, schema markup. And if you don't know how to do that yourself, you can talk to a web developer about structured data schema markup. And this is a universal language in the code that really helps. It tells like search engines like, okay, these are blog pages, these are service or product pages, right? And so the way if they're structured that way, then this helps AI understand and bring up your website. So you want to make sure you include FAQs, site speed, like I said, mobile friendliness is important. Fix any broken links, okay? Because broken links can hurt its user experience. Like if someone lands on a broken link, that they're most likely going to leave. And also, sure your content is human written. That's like, at least even if you're using like to help you write, you just want to make sure you put those human elements into it that builds the emotional connection and long-term brand equity. And so here I just wanted to show you a screenshot of that same blog, Linen Clothing for Canadian Winters. And just here's a screenshot of their Google Search Console of the blog's performance in the last 3 months, or however long this blog was published. But you can see the increase in clicks and impressions, and just how like that blog is their number two, like rank second highest traffic page after the homepage. Their second top page, like top performing page, is that blog. So it had like 525 clicks and over like 22,000 impressions. And so what that means is, higher AI overview visibility plus and increased sales from organic. So this actually did translate into sales revenue directly generated from the blog itself. So we can tie that back just because of the sheer increase of traffic coming directly from this blog. And also, their organic search traffic is their second highest traffic channel and also their second highest revenue channel as well after direct. So that's just telling you, if I haven't convinced you yet about the power of blogging and just how important it is and how it can help with your bottom line as well. So yeah, I just wanted to show this little client case study of this brand who was able to grow their visibility and traffic directly from their content clusters and blogging. Okay. And so I just wanted to give you a few little action steps here because small steps can lead to big results. And just breaking it down for you here, and things that what you can do to take action right now. Week one, create a keyword list. And like I said, how do we start with the keyword list? Start with commonly asked questions that you get. And then I would go and fix the title tags and meta descriptions and headings of at least 5 of your top pages on your website. Week two, go and optimize 3 of your main pages on your website. So go through it and look at the content on there, making sure that, what is written on there really does align with what the intent is on that page. Week three, so publish one helpful blog post and start building trust with the EAT algorithm, like I said. Week four, go and review your analytics and request customer reviews as well and make sure you add those to your website. Just some things that are big no-nos here, right? Like gone are the days now, no keyword stuffing, right? You want to make sure it's written in natural language. Okay. Remember, write for humans first, not robots. Don't copy your competitors' content. That's a big no-no. Ignoring page speed or mobile. Like, no, that's really important nowadays, right? Everybody's using their and buying on their phones and their devices more. And don't write for algorithms, but write for people, right? Which just goes back to pretty much everything that I was saying earlier. And the final takeaway here is, you want to show up where people, your customers, and AI search, right? So, final takeaways, the SEO fundamentals haven't changed, but platforms have. And I'm going to break the myth that SEO is not dead, but it is evolving. As hopefully you got gathered from today's webinar that you know that SEO is part of like GEO, which is like generative engine optimization is part of SEO, right? They're not two separate things, but it's just different because there's traditional SEO, which used to focus on rankings, right, in search results, driving clicks to your site, converting that traffic into sales. But now you want to layer on your clarity, expertise, and helpful content, right, EEAT, that builds trust signals that both humans and AI recognize. So if I were to end on anything, remember, EAT in action, expertise, experience, authority, trustworthiness is how AI decides to choose your website and recommend it. And building authority signals, having those author bios, backlinks, brand mentions are also really important. Just make sure, like I said earlier, having an author bio at the end, including have your client case studies if you have those, testimonials, include your founder story and customer reviews, right? These all are important things that build authority and trust signals, right? That's really important in this world of AI. So hopefully you've learned a few things at this webinar today. And if you're ready to future-proof your website for AI search, I really encourage you to book a strategy call with me. It's a free 30-minute call. And there's a QR code there that you can scan. And I'd love to talk to you. And my contact information, you can visit my website. I'm on Instagram at Glynis Tao. And my email address is hello@glynisTao.com. So I'd really love to hear from you. follow me on IG, DM me, let me know what are some of the key takeaways that you got from this webinar today and what you're hoping to implement because, you got to turn this insight into action, right? And it's moving at such a fast pace that you don't want to be left behind, okay? And feel like you have to catch up. Like right now is the time, the best time to start taking action, to just at least start building that foundation up for you to start gaining more visibility online. Okay. And so here we are, ready to take questions. So if you want to drop your questions here in the chat, I know there's a few here already. Janina, are some of these methods, yeah, you were asking about effective if you are primarily using social media platforms like LinkedIn and Instagram and foregoing website until your business requires one? Yeah, I think you can still use these similar strategies of building authoritativeness and trustworthiness using those platforms even before you have you're ready for a website or you don't need a website just yet. But you want to start building that credibility, right? And so, yeah, I think you can take these same strategies and apply them to other platforms as well. And then here's also one other thing is another benefit of blogging is once you have this piece of content, you can also take it and repurpose it for all your other platforms, for your email marketing, right? You can break it up, repurpose them as social media posts, anything like that. So, yeah, that's why it's like, if you're going to spend this much time on doing creating piece of content, then why not take it and repurpose all of that? And that also can help you, organize all your content too. And then Pressy says, can you please give me more examples on how to keep into fresh? Do you just mean keeping products up to date, or are there good things to keep fresh or other good things? You mean when I was mentioning to keep things fresh and updated? I think I meant more like, yeah, updated content. And, if you have an e-commerce website or you have product pages, please don't leave your sold out items on the site, especially if you're not planning to restock anytime soon because it doesn't, it is not good for the user experience if they land on a sold out product. And so I always tell clients to, if your products are permanently sold out, please take them off your site. Don't leave the sold out page there. If they're coming in about a week, then you want to mention that, expect restock, items to be in stock by a certain date, but don't just leave sold out products sitting on the site. Okay. Tiffany asks, how do you make your images load more quickly? What format should they be? And so you can use different image compression software or apps. So I don't mean and sometimes people kind of get confused between the two, between lower image resolution and lower, I'm talking image file size here. So you don't want to lower your image resolution, but you want to compress the file size. And there are different apps out there. You could just Google it and look for image compressor. I think if you're on Shopify, they will compress your images automatically. If not, you can also have an app to compress your images. You can just install an app, and there's quite a few out there that will do it for you, and that will maintain the image resolution, high quality, low file size, if that makes sense, and so that things load faster. Have you noticed an optimal blog length trying to avoid being a cooking recipe with a saga before the ingredients? That's a good question. You know what? Think about quality over quantity here. So I don't like to say a number and have people hung up on the number. If you can, get your point across with 1,000 words, or less, by all means, it's fine nowadays. There's no, such thing as having to have a 2,000 or 3,000 word blog because then, tends to be all fluff. If it's like a 3,000 word article, but it's all fluff, that's not going to help you, right? Versus one that's 1,000 words or less, but it's quality content. Okay. So please don't get hung up on that. It's frustrating to see all the things I was hoping to purchase are sold out. Oh, yeah, okay, Jenny. I think you're just talking about that point about, yeah, having sold out items on the webpage. I know it feels like, yeah, it's so tempting. I'm like, why is it still there? It's like, but I can't get it. Yeah, it can be frustrating. Row banner says, I currently have my website on Show It and have it on Google Search Console. It says I have a lot of it not indexed. Does that mean it's not getting showed because of SEO is not done right? Uh, yeah, when you're in Google Search Console, you look at your page indexing list and the ones that are not indexed, please you can click on them, right? And it'll show you which pages they are. And some pages shouldn't be indexed, if that makes sense, right? So there's something called a robots.txt file that gets added on websites, which tells search engines which pages to crawl and which pages not to crawl. And some pages you don't want to be crawled or indexed, right? They could be sensitive information, they could be customer information. And sometimes I notice with my client sites, yeah, it's like a lot of non-indexed pages. And I'm looking at it and like could be account related login pages for different things. So go there and click and see what pages are not indexed. And if it's a page that you want indexed but is not, and sometimes, if you leave Google to just like crawl and index your site automatically, it could take forever, right? It will do it eventually. But here's the thing that most people don't know. You can actually request indexing. So what you could do is a manual index. And so, like I said, if you go to a page and you look and you see it's not indexed, but it should be, you can hit request index. Okay. And that'll trigger it to index. So sometimes you may have to do manual index, and especially say if you just published a new article or added a new collection page to your website or product page or services page and you want it to be indexed faster, go and resubmit your sitemap. If you had done a major site overhaul, updated your website recently, go to Google Search Console and resubmit your sitemap for crawling and indexing. Okay? Does that help? Yes, thank you. Awesome. Okay, thank you so much, everyone, for staying until the very end. I really do appreciate your time and really hope that you have gotten a lot out of this. And I know we reached the end of the hour, and I don't want to take up more people's time. But if you do want me to review your site, or if you have any further questions after this webinar, then please reach out to me. Book a strategy call. I'd love to hear from you. And thanks, everyone. Have a great day.